happy Monday. Welcome back to another Art with Mr. Hadley video. Today's lesson is going to be painting a dandelion. And a dandelion is a flower that looks something similar to this, which I'm sure you have seen before. The materials that you're going to need for this lesson will be as followed. You're going to need a piece of paper. Doesn't have to be white, it can be a colored piece of paper. You're going to need a cardboard tube, scissors, paint. Doesn't have to be black paint. You can use different colored paint. I'm using tempera paint. I don't think watercolor will really work. You want either tempera or acrylic paint for this. Tempera works best. Paintbrush, a cup of water, something to put underneath the piece of paper so that you don't make a mess. I'm just going to use some tin foil. So what's going to happen here is you can gather up your materials right now. You can pause the video. Otherwise, I'm going to get started. Okay, so the first thing I want to do for this demonstration is show you all my example, but a little more up close. So what we're going to do is we're going to make 4 dandelions here. You can use one piece of cardboard, that's fine. I'm actually going to use 3 because you can see 3 different sized dandelions here. I have one large one, a medium-sized one, these are both mediums, and a smaller one. So I have 3 cardboard tubes here. You can just use one, that's fine. But the first thing we're going to do is we're going to cut our cardboard tubes in a shape so that we can put them on the paper to make these dandelion shapes. So what do you think we're going to have to do with the cardboard and the scissors based on what you see here? What I used for this example was I used 3 different cardboard tubes, 3 different sizes, and you can see that I cut them out in a shape that would result in the similar shape of a dandelion. So, how do you think I cut these cardboard tubes in the first place? I'm going to show you that right now. You're going to want to take your scissors, carefully. I'm going to start making a bigger one first, which means I have to cut longer lines. 1, 2, and you cut the same sized long lines all around the tube. And then what do you think I'm going to have to do in order to get this shape from this? You're probably thinking the right answer already. You're going to take your fingers and you're just going to fold them out. All right, so this is going to be for my bigger dandelion. It's okay if you only have one cardboard tube, that's fine. You can just make the same size dandelion, that's a-okay. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to make a medium-sized one and a smaller one. And in order to make different sizes, instead of cutting the same long lines that you did there, you're going to make those lines just a little bit shorter for the medium-sized one. And then for the smallest one, you're going to make those cuts the shortest cuts. So this is my medium-sized dandelion. It's not that much smaller, though, than my larger one, but that's fine. Now I'm going to move on to my smallest dandelion. This is the example that I have for my smallest dandelion that I already used with the black paint. So as you can see, I'm going to make smaller cuts now. You can hear that rain outside. When it's raining outside, it's always a good time to do something creative on the inside where you don't get too wet. All right. So that's my smaller dandelion, and now I'm going to show you the next step. So you may have already noticed is I have these tinfoil rectangles right here, just to keep myself from making a huge mess. It's okay if you have to clean up a little bit afterwards though. I'm going to start now with the paint. Now that I have my dandelions cut out, I'm going to put just a little bit of paint on my tinfoil that's above my piece of paper. And I'm going to actually use a small cardboard rectangle here to spread the paint out. This step is after you've made that shape with the cardboard tubes. You don't want to spread the paint out on the entire tinfoil rectangle. If you're not using tinfoil, that's fine. But you just want a little bit at a time. All right, I'm done spreading that out for now. And what you want to do is you want to take your cardboard shape, my paintbrush because I don't need it right now, and you want to put it on the paint that you just spread out, and you want to slowly start to turn it in a circle. slowly turning. And you can look up or turn it up to see what designs, or to see how much paint rather is on your cardboard. You can turn the cardboard a little bit like this, making sure that each little cardboard tab that you cut has some paint on it. Doesn't need to be filled with paint, just a little bit, that's fine. You can see that there's a lot more paint here than there is right there, that's okay. Now, you wanna move that cardboard to your piece of paper. And what you wanna do is similarly like how you were putting on the paint to the cardboard, you wanna put it onto the piece of paper in a very similar way, in a circle. Rotating it around and around and around. Notice how I'm not really moving the entire cardboard piece around, but I'm keeping it still, but going around in a circle, right? I'm gonna use more paint for that one, actually. A little bit more paint. If you need more paint, that's fine. You can pour out a little more paint and then spread out some more paint too. I think that's gonna be good for my first one. I'm gonna set this aside over here. Now I'm gonna start with my medium one. I'm gonna add a little bit more paint here, not a lot. I'm gonna spread it out again. Now I'm going to use my medium one here. And the same thing. Okay. I'm gonna move this to my paper here. Some of the flowers are gonna come off the paper, that's okay. I'm gonna put mine right here. Go around in a circle. Making sure that circle is still a circle, sort of. But going around, but keeping it still and yet rotating my hand. All right, so it's gonna be my medium one. I'm gonna have another medium one down here, actually. Gonna move it up a little bit. It's okay if you make a little bit of a mess, just as long as you have permission to paint and also that you clean up your own mess. That's that one right there. Then I'm gonna do my smaller one. So again, same technique. And that is going to be my smaller one. Now what we're gonna do is I'm gonna use my paintbrush. So what I'm gonna do here is I'm going to dip my paintbrush gently in the water first, and I'm gonna put it on in the black paint that I have on the tinfoil. And what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna start to make circles. One circle, two, three, and four. It's all right if they don't show up so much, it's fine. The next thing I'm gonna do, wipe off my brush a little bit, add a little bit more water. I'm gonna put my paintbrush in the black paint again. Twirl it around a little bit. I'm gonna go 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8. Sort of like a bicycle wheel. A little bit more water. And I do this to all of my dandelion shapes. The last part of this painting is going to be adding the stems, and it's going to be adding that effect that when dandelions have when the wind hits them or when you blow on the dandelion, some of that fluff just kind of goes away. All right, so this part is going to be adding the stems. One stem here, another stem there. We don't actually have to add a stem down here because you can't really see the bottom of this dandelion anyway. But I'm gonna add a stem on this dandelion right here, like that. All right, and now for this part, showing the little fuzzies going away as if the wind were hitting them, or if you're blowing on them rather, you're gonna add a little bit of paint on your brush. All right, and what you wanna do, you can use the side of your brush first, and just start to dab on one side of a dandelion. I'm doing the top one. And then the more that you dab the paint in one specific area, the more black will show up and the less paint is going to be on your brush. So you can now start to go out side, the dandelion, dabbing just a little bit, and you'll start to notice that the paint is not as bold as it was when you started on this side of the dandelion, right? Gently dabbing, right? Not hurting the brush too much. In one direction, just going in this direction here. I think that looks pretty cool. Okay, now a little bit of water on my brush, add a little bit more paint. Now I'm gonna do it to the smaller one down here. And it's important to look at the spaces you have in between each dandelion because you don't wanna make a mess in between the dandelion. I would recommend that you look at the spaces that you have between your dandelion just so you're not creating too much of a mess in your painting. All right, so again, I think I had a little bit too much paint actually here, but I'm just dabbing gently. All right. So my painting, the wind is going in all sorts of directions because if the fuzzies were coming off of this dandelion this way, the wind would be blowing this way, but the fuzzies on this dandelion are coming off this direction. So they're kind of just blowing all over in the wind, which is okay. Ever been outside before and you don't know which direction the wind is coming from because it's so windy? That's cool. And I'm gonna add a little bit over here too. I'm not gonna do too much to this over here because I already have so much happening in these areas right here, but I'm gonna add a little bit coming off of this dandelion down here. I'm not gonna add any more paint to my brush. I'm just gonna dab. You'll notice that the shape of the brush is getting a little wonky. That's okay. But you don't want it to get so wonky that it completely breaks. And there you have it. That's my painting of the dandelions. I should have called this Dandelions in the Wind. I'm gonna call this lesson Dandelions Blown in the Wind. And there you have it. So just a little bit of reflections after today's lesson. So you'll notice here on the first one that I have, I think I was more successful with this one, the first one that I made, just because I was more aware of where the dandelions are and the sizes of my cardboard pieces. I think you'll notice that the difference between this one, and if you see them both together here, I think this one looks a little bit more cleaner. I think also on this one I used a little less paint, while also being aware of how much space I had on the paper. I also used the tip of the brush rather than the side of the brush for this one. I just wanted to experiment something on this side. So this is a great lesson, you know, to experiment with different ways to use the paintbrush. I'm sure some of you are not so used to painting with the cardboard, but it was fun. Try it out and see what kind of dandelions you come up with. So that's the lesson for today. Thank you so much for watching. If you followed along, awesome. If not, that's okay. I would love to see what you make out of this. You can send me your flowers. That would be awesome. Look for another video this Wednesday, and I will see you all then. Bye.